I decided to make this little mini series on Ready to Evacuate because a couple of years ago I had groups of rats up in my bedroom, and suddenly in the middle of the night the water was pouring through the ceiling from a burst tank, and I had to at 4 o'clock in the morning with my son's help move all the rats from upstairs down 2 flights of stairs with and then move their cages as well, and it was an absolute nightmare. And it's one of the reasons why we moved the rats to the ground floor and now have all of our rats on the ground floor. And ever since then I've been thinking, what would we do if we had to actually leave our house? And it's something that worries me. Many years ago I belonged to ROSPA, which is the Royal Society of the Prevention of Accidents, and the things I learnt there have just sort of stuck with me. So I think we none of us like to think about having to evacuate, but in this day and age there's all sorts of reasons why you may have to evacuate your house, or there may be an emergency even where you have to stay in your house. So we always make sure we have plenty of supplies of food and water and all the rat bedding and everything if we had to stay in the house. But the worrying thing is, if we had to leave the house, how would we do it? So as I've talked about, I always have a backpack packed ready, and I've decided to use the 35-litre backpack so that we can get everyone can get enough rat supplies for one cage, and we can sort of basically have hands free. We've got all our medical supplies and everything that we need for just for a couple of days into that backpack. We've decided on the fur plastuna cage because it's suitable for a couple of days. It gives good protection for the rats and it's strong. And I've taken extra precautions with the luggage straps that the rats will be safe. But I think what you need to do is, first of all, make a list of the things you would need. Get yourself a strong backpack and pack up your bag. Get yourself a good cage, and you need to have these things always ready. It's no good having them all but having to look for them, because if you had a fire, you would only have a very few minutes to get out of your house. And a fire brigade will tell you that you must not stop to collect belongings or your animals. And that is right. You must protect yourself first. I personally would get my animals. I would have terrible trouble to leave my animals. I would make sure, first of all, my sons and my animals get out before I did. And that is the wrong thing to do. You must protect yourself, especially if you're a child. You must listen to what your parents say. And you cannot be replaced. And however much you love your animals, you have to do what your parents tell you. Now, if you're an adult, it's up to you, the choices you make, but you should look for your own safety. Now, why I'm doing this is because hopefully, if you're prepared, you can grab your rats. This is why you need to be able to handle your rats and pick them up, and why they need to come to you when you call their names, because you may only have like 1 minute, 2 minutes. And if everything's ready, all you've got to do is grab your bag, which is near your exit, and your emergency cage, which is in your rat room. But please, please do not put yourself at risk. Do not panic. The worst thing you can do is panic, because everything will just go wrong and you'll waste more time. And you'll panic your rats as well. So I would protect your home and go around your home, make sure everything is safe. You don't have dangerous cables and things trailing about. Your electrical equipment is all good. Try and prevent a fire. Now, a fire, if you live in a flat, there is always a risk of fire, and there's a risk of having to go up and down steps, which is why I'm suggesting you use the luggage straps as well. In your own personal home, I would suggest that you always have a fire blanket in your kitchen. And we have a fire extinguisher. I'm not going to pick that up because that's heavy, but we have a fire extinguisher like this on every floor. And we have 3 floors in our house because it's a townhouse. And I think that's very, very important, that it's somewhere where everyone knows where it is and how to use it, because you can put out a small fire very easily. But the first thing you need to do is if there's more than one of you, this is a lot easier, because one person can call the fire brigade while the other person grabs the bag. And make sure that your stairways and your halls are completely free from clutter. Nothing on your stairs or your hallways, because you don't want to be falling over things. You need to have a think how you would get out if you were trapped upstairs. Is there a window, or ladders, or is there an escape hatch, whatever, where you live? So you need to have a look around and work out, is there a safe room that you could be in? And you hopefully know where you can get a signal on your mobile phone, where you can't. If it's something like a flood, it's not quite from a burst pipe, then really it's just a case of moving your rats to another room temporarily while you sort it out. And if you have to leave your house, it's normally not such an emergency as a fire. Flooding, of course, we normally have some warning about flooding, so people do get sandbags and move everything upstairs if there's likely to be a flood. So that's something you can think about. If you live in a place where it's like a war zone, yes, you do have a major problem, and I really don't know how you're going to get around that. Just being prepared all the time and travelling light, and following instructions that you're given from your local council government. And if there is a riot or something, and or your whole street gets evacuated because of like an unexploded bomb or a gas leak, then follow the instructions that you're given. There will always be an emergency plan in your local area, and it's good to know where your local sort of emergency shelter would be, so that you know how to get there. But I can't emphasize how important it is that you do make plans and you do have an emergency plan, because these things are unexpected. That's why we don't know they're going to happen. And when they do happen, they can be so traumatic. If you're in a panic, it all goes wrong. Everything will go wrong. You can have accidents. You can end up tripping down the stairs or something silly. So to keep calm, and what we're going to do is have a practice evacuation and time ourselves, and it's likely to be quite chaotic the first time, but I would say to you as something to practice, and let the whole family know what to do if the fire alarm goes off, who's responsible for waking people up and who's responsible for calling the fire brigade. And if you live in a block of flats, very, very important, know where your fire exits are. Know the safe places that you can go to. So I really hope none of you ever have to go through an evacuation. And just remember, to follow the advice that you're given from the fire officers and to put yourself first. Now, I know that's really difficult because we're so attached to our animals, and our animals are part of the family. So I'm hoping that if we ever have a fire, the plan that we've put in place would enable us to save all of our animals and ourselves. And all I can say is just be prepared. Is all you can do, is be prepared. Don't panic, and be sensible. And just please, if you have an emergency, you must look after yourselves.